Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year, and welcome to the January 9th HWMA meeting. I will start by taking roll. Meredith Matthews, I'm here. Director Castellano?
Here.
Director Katie?
Here.
Director Bushnell?
Here.
Director Wilson?
Here.
And our director from Blue Lake is absent, and we still have a quorum. So let's get started. Let's start with the consent calendar. So we have 4 items on consent. Minutes from November 14th, 2024. Review and approve September 24 financial reports, October financial reports, and authorize the executive director to execute an amendment to the mattress recycling service agreements. Does anybody want to pull anything off? Anybody have any public comment? I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to pass the consent calendar.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Director Bushnell and a second by Director Katie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, oral and written communication. Do we have any public comment this evening?
We did not receive any, Chair.
All right, I will then close public comment. So let's move on to item number 4, which is approve purchase of transfer station scale. And can we get a staff report?
Thank you, Chair. So outlined in the approved capital improvement plan for fiscal year 24-25, the current in-ground pit scale was scheduled for replacement this year due to prolonged use and the severe wear and tear that a scale like that goes through in the daily operations of a transfer station. So as noted, the scale is utilized pretty much for every ton of trash that the authority takes in and ships out. It is the main trash scale, and it is in constant daily use about 364 days a year. The board at their November meeting approved a request for bids. The HWMA received 2 bids through the process, with only 1 bid being deemed responsive to the bid request required. Staff recommends the board award Quality Scales Unlimited, the successful bidder for the purchase of the transfer station scale.
Any questions from the... Go ahead, Leslie.
Just real quick, in terms of the non-responsive, since it was a significant bid difference, can you just say a little bit more about what deemed them non-responsive?
They did not meet a couple of the requirements within the bid packet. Yeah.
So is this $219,000? Is that about what we budgeted for this? Is that in line with?
So it is a little bit more. That original request in the capital improvement plan predates the new improvement plan. And that's a number that's been carried over for a couple years. Staff internally has taken a look at current projects in the capital improvement plan, what we can put off until next year, what we can massage. And then we're also looking at our current expenditures for this fiscal year. And we believe, one, the critical nature of this scale, it is a must replace at this time. And 2, we've deemed a couple items that we can push from this fiscal year to the next fiscal year in the capital improvement plan to ensure that we have the appropriate level of funding.
So we had budgeted $145,000.
That is correct.
And so in order to meet the $219,968, you're going to need to pull from other projects, or are we going to be able to use fund balance? Or
so we're going to continue to use the capital improvement fund. It will have the necessary funding by the time we make the purchase. What we won't be doing is moving forward with 2 other projects that were scheduled for 24-25 fiscal year from the capital improvement plan. So we won't need to dip into any of our other funding, whether any of our other balances. We will continue to use that fund, and we will take 2 projects that are currently listed, and we will move them to either the 25-26 fiscal year or the 26-27 to give us time to recoup that balance.
so the 2 projects that you will be moving that were scheduled for this year, are there impacts that will be felt from not doing those projects?
No, the majority of the projects are landfill related, and in discussing with Director Heacock and landfill staff, putting it off another year for one of the projects is not an issue. One of them is replacement of tractor and related parts, mowing accessories, stuff like that, to the tune of around $66,000. And then another one is a small landfill addition, a quad. And so both of those can be moved to the next fiscal year.
I'm just wondering why why the bid came in so high if we only budgeted, like, it seems like it's almost like $100,000 more than we budgeted. Is it because we kept pushing it off and things just get more expensive, or?
I think there's a couple of things to go with that. I would imagine the original bid, this scale is not common, and in the industry currently now, you don't really put scales in ground anymore for a myriad of reasons. The majority of them are above ground. They make it easier to work on. The ingress of water isn't so detrimental. All kinds of things that we've moved away from in-ground. Additionally, what makes this a bit of a problem is it's a off size. So it's a 65-foot scale. Generally, they're 40-footers or 70-footers. So whenever that transfer station facility was built, it was built with a very, very specific scale that now requires very, very specific manufacturing. And quite frankly, that number was carried over from the previous one, and we should have done a better job and done a little bit more due diligence to ensure that number was correct and up to date.
So this is the original scale that we're replacing?
That's correct.
And then, so when we get this scale, what's the longevity of this scale?
15 to 20 years.
All right.
Yeah.
So that was my question too. How long has the current scale been in place?
A little over. It has lasted longer than the life of the authority, basically. So it was put in prior to HWMA being formed in 2000. So that is the original scale for that original building. I can't give you an exact date because all the schematics no longer are readable, and there's no other information that I could find. So it is older in theory than the authority is.
So is there, with the new scale coming in with this kind of a price tag, is there some kind of a warranty on lifetime?
Generally in the waste industry, there's not a warranty outside of like manufacturing defects, which come with pretty much everything that we buy. If it's wear and tear related to daily operations, that's generally not covered under warranty. There are certain warranty aspects that not only the scale provider does, but the installer. And that's something that we go through with each installer and with each item. We bring them in, we have them take a look if there is a problem, whether it's a wiring issue, whether it's the chain links that hold the weigh scales down, whether it's the weigh stations on each corner. It depends on if it was abuse from staffs or just daily operations, or if it was considered a manufacturing defect, things like that.
Okay. And so the deferring the tractor parts and the quad is going to bring you to that 74,000 that you need?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So how do you get rid of the old scale? And is that going to cost money too? Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yep, it's part of the bid.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry for cutting it.
Oh, no. Good information. And thank you, Old Scale, for your 25 years of service.
I'll make a motion to approve I don't have the language right in front of me, the item of purchasing a new scale to go with Quality Scales Unlimited to replace the scale.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Director Bushnell and a second from Director Wilson. Before we go for a vote, do we have any public comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Next, we will move on to ratify emergency purchase of a suppression system. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So as noted in the staff report, the current transfer station fire suppression system had a not insignificant failure related to its flow sensor system and the related monitoring equipment. This system's failure resulted in several false alarm triggers and impacted the system's ability to function properly in the event of an actual fire. Our current alarm provider was able to quickly diagnose the issues and provide a fix within about 2 weeks. This system obviously is critical to the health and safety of staff and the facility and infrastructure that lies within it, and has been utilized several times within the last year due to an uptick in fires related to improperly disposed of items. So to say that it is a critical piece of operations would be an understatement. Staff recommends the board approve and ratify the executive director's approval of an emergency purchase for the fire suppression system at the Hawthorne Street transfer station.
Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
This may not be directly under this item.
Frank, turn your microphone.
This may not be, maybe should be brought up under a different item or time, but in your approval limit, you're close to that now on this item. Should that be agendized or looked at that the board bump that limit, which you can go with?
So it's something that staff can look at. We can take a look at member agency jurisdictions and see what a similar approval level is. I think staff can also take a look at how many items are considered maybe general business that are starting to bump up to the executive director's spending authority. And we could bring either a report back or a potential recommendation at a future meeting if that's something the board would like us to take a look at.
Is this where it came up when it did, is this something that is in our budget to do this?
So no, this was a completely unbudgeted item and unexpected.
So what's that do to the same issue we just went around the table on?
Yeah, so staff will have to take a look at available funding from all sources to figure out where we can either make adjustments or make recommendations at the mid-year to move money around to make sure that we can cover this unbudgeted item. So right now it lies within a line item that, for lack of a better term, it's in the solid waste repairs and maintenance line item in our budget. And that's where it's going to go until we can find the necessary funds from either another line item or one of our reserve funds to transfer to that line item to cover this unexpected cost. And that's something that we don't have an answer for you tonight, but we will have that in the mid-year budget if we feel like there isn't sufficient funding in that line item for the rest of this year to cover that.
Thank you.
Do you know what, in that line item, what do you budget there? And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's not an insignificant amount. I would say anywhere, depending on the fiscal year, anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000.
So for repairs and maintenance, if that goes on that line item, is it for repairs and maintenance that come up, or is it for items that are listed?
So we can do both. So generally, if they're not capital improvement plan items, if they don't meet the definition of CIP items, we embed them directly in the fiscal year budget, obviously depending on spending and the board's approval. What that means is that we always have a line item and an amount for potential repairs and maintenance that we don't know. We've been doing this a very long time. We have a track record of what we break or what things need repairs and maintenance. But we also have staff that look every year annually to see items that need to be updated, whether that be gutters, roof, paneling, wear pads for the loaders, things like that. We have staff that's been doing this a very long time. So we will do both. We will have items that we know need to be repaired or replaced and maintained this fiscal year. And then we also always put in a little bit of money for unexpected repairs and maintenance such as this, because in the waste industry, accidents do happen, unfortunately, and they're not cheap when they do.
And this went out to bid?
No, it did not.
So is it supposed to go out to bid? Because guidelines purchase in excess of $20,000 is subject to bid requirements?
Yeah, so per policy 4040 of HWMA, the approved purchasing policy guidelines, purchases in excess of $20,000 are subject to bid requirements and board approval unless required due to emergency instances. And so that's why this is coming before the board tonight, is to invoke and ratify the executive director's decision to get the suppression system repaired under the emergency aspect of that.
So is it not currently working? Because it does say that in October you guys had it worked on, and it looks like they identified the problem and it was working. So this is 3 months later.
That is correct.
And is it working currently today?
It is currently working today, yes.
But you feel a catastrophic fail is going to happen soon?
No, this is being brought forward once we finally got the bills and the requirements for all the work that was done. So we had a catastrophic failure in late October. They worked for 2 weeks to get them online, and then now it's been completely refurbished, updated.
So you already did this.
That is correct.
So you just need to pay for it.
That is correct.
And so when emergency items happen, I guess you wouldn't call an emergency meeting to approve or get a.
No, generally, in years past, the HWMA board has given the executive director through policy 4040 the bandwidth to approve emergencies and have them come back and have them ratified by the HWMA board.
Oh, ratify. It's to ratify.
Yeah.
I see that. Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
Way back there.
All right, I'll bring it back to the board. Leslie?
Let's see. Well, first, I just want to say I would, should you want to bring back an increase in policy 4040 from $20,000, I would support that. That feels low given the rising cost of materials these days. So just to say, if that comes forward, I'm supportive of that. And then otherwise, I move to ratify emergency purchase with advanced security systems in the amount of $23,612.35 at 1059 West Hawthorne Street as approved by the executive director.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Director Castellano and a second by Director Bushnell. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that motion passes, and we will move on to item number 6, which is to receive an update on request for proposal for organics processing feasibility study. And can we get a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So this will be pretty quick. Staff anticipates bringing this forward at the February meeting. The only reason that you do not see it here tonight is I do not believe that we got the input and buy-in that I'd like to see from member agency staff. That could have been for a myriad of reasons. It probably was due to going over 2 holidays when the document was circulated as well. Additionally, I've spoken to a couple of staff that did respond, and they feel that it would be best to also have a meeting to overview some of jurisdiction staff's comments, edits, things like that, and to make sure that the document is up to snuff with exactly what they want to see and what the authority wants to put out as well. This is a document that has the ability to define organics for the foreseeable future for not only every member agency jurisdiction, but the authority as a whole. And jurisdiction staff and myself felt that it was prudent and not that big of an issue to push it another 30 days to make sure that all jurisdictions have the opportunity to weigh in on it, get their thoughts and edits should they have them, and then make sure that we have a polished document that's ready for dispersal.
That makes sense. Do you have any comments? All right, so you don't need anything from us. It's just an update. All right. Does anybody have any public comment on that? Had to ask. All right, we will move on to standing item board member reports. Does anybody have anything to report?
Negative.
Please. All right, got excited for a second. All right, then we will move on to executive director's report.
So very quickly, just to give you a heads up about what is going to be coming at the February meeting. Obviously, we just closed the 2024 year, and we'll be bringing forward a presentation to let the board know about all the activities that happened at HWMA. So the tonnage, mattresses, total cars, all the other programs, grants, everything. We'll give you a year-end wrap-up on all the authorities' activities as well.
Excellent, thanks. And when's mid-year budget review?
Mid-year is February or March? February. So that will come at the February meeting as well.
Nice long meeting in February.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll hit a half an hour, you can say. All right, if nobody has anything else, then we will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you so much.